Good day, this is What TV and we are the Political Fact, a program where we talk a closer look at trending issues across Nigeria and the globe, giving you insight and perspectives that matters. I'm your host, Ololade Bolariwa. And we meet today is Mr. Kayode Awolere. How are you doing today, sir?
Oh, fine, very fine.
All right. Mr. Kayode Awolere is a researcher, is a public affairs analyst, and a seasoned lecturer of politics and conflict resolutions. All right, let's go into the full deals. In light of recent press release issued by the media aide to the ALAAFIN of Oyo, Oba Akim Owade, the monarch has directed the OONI of Ife, Oba Eniton Ogunwusi, to reverse the confinement of the chief title of Okolomo of Yoruba land that he bestowed upon one of the Yoruba's prominent son, Chief Dotun Sanusi. Now, when we take a look at these things, how do you feel like the relationship between the Yoruba leaders? How do you feel it is? What do you think? Do you think is it about security? The relationship between the biggest traditional rulers in Yoruba land.
Yes, thank you very much. we cannot rule out rivalry among traditional institutions, especially among prominent traditional rulers in Yoruba land. We cannot rule out rivalry, supremacy battle. However, this is a very unwanted situation, a very needless one. It is actually uncalled for us to be witnessing or experiencing what is currently going on. However, we should also appreciate the fact that ALAAFIN, whose media head issued his press release,
Yes.
have also actually distanced himself from that, and he has recently also made it known to the public that he has nothing against the that their relationship is cordial. So, but this is bad for the optics generally, that we have a media head who issued a press release that appears to have the tone appears to be not too okay, not too palatable. Tone ordering a prominent traditional ruler as in the person of Oni in Yoruba and Oni of Ife, Oba Ogunwusi. This rather unfortunate, and we should actually promote collaboration among traditional rulers, because they are the custodian of our tradition and culture. Even though we know that Oyo Empire gained ascendancy as a result of the exploits, you understand, of the Oyo Kingdom, which became an empire, you understand, and that place whoever is the ALAAFIN, in a very prominent position in Yoruba land. But we cannot also rule out the fact that Ife happens to be the origin, the source, and the cradle of Yoruba spirituality. So we cannot rule out this. And so I would rather advocate for cordial relationship among our traditional rulers, among our traditional institutions in Yoruba land, rather than this sort of supremacy battle, which is needless.
All right, let's take a look on our Yoruba history. From inception, we all know that Ife is regarded as a spiritual headquarters of the Yoruba people, and while Oyo has long been acknowledged as a political headquarters, but in present days, do you think this old age beliefs? Do you think they are still respected?
Yes, they are. They are still very much respected. We cannot, like I said earlier, in my earlier remark, we cannot rule out the fact that Oyo Kingdom became an empire as a result of the exploits of the kingdom, gaining prominence even beyond the shores of Nigeria, of modern Nigeria as we know it today. Extending its sphere of influence into Togo, the Republic of Benin. You understand? So that makes Oyo, the political headquarters of the Yoruba people, of the Yoruba ethnic nationality. You understand? That is the Yoruba nation. The same respect should also be accorded to Ife, giving its place as the origin, and the cradle of Yoruba spirituality. So so whoever is the Oni should be accorded respect, utmost respect, And so when you say Oyo is the political headquarters of Yoruba land, given the fact that it became an empire,
Yes.
and its sphere of influence extend beyond the modern Nigeria as we know it today, you cannot also relegate Ilefe being the origin or the source of Yoruba spirituality. So whoever is the Oni will be seen as the spiritual leader of the Yoruba people. So,
thank you. And let's look at the dynamics today. I mean, what can you say about the role of political influence reshaping and eroding our customs and traditions? Why?
well, politics has played both negative and positive role. First, when we talk about the positive role it has played, it has helped in modernizing our traditional institutions and introduce some incentives and makes the institutions to be attractive, by the kind of elevation that most of our Obas are now enjoying, and even beyond the Yoruba land in other regions of the country, So we have seen even where traditional institutions did not exist before now, they now have a kinship, they have kinship system in place. But it has also played negative role because of constant interference, meddling in traditional the affairs of traditional institutions by politicians as a result of politicking, trying to install kings that will be pliable, that will be more loyal, not to the people,
To the people, yes.
who they are meant to rule over, but to the individuals in political office who have installed them or who have enthroned them as kings in their domain, which is very uncalled for because these traditional rulers are custodians of cultures and tradition. And politics, like I've said, it has played both positive and negative role because this negative role has desecrated very often our culture and traditions by the interference of individuals who are holding political office. And as a result of the fact that during colonialism national rulers were placed under those who hold the political office, the modern political institutions that we have today. So the traditional institutions were placed under them, and that's why today governors install traditional rulers in their domain. So indirectly making them subordinate to those who hold political office. And the modern institutions of governance placing the traditional rulers under them. So that in a way has not helped the traditional rulers who ought to be, in actual fact, who ought to be the custodian of our cultures and tradition, but rather they are not subjected to interference of politicians and taking instructions and orders from them, and so against the cultures and traditions of their domain, which is very regrettable and very unfortunate.
All right, thank you. And this supremacy fight, how do you think this would affect the Yoruba race?
Well, it will affect Yoruba race in many ways. For instance, recently we are seeing cases of people emerging as traditional rulers in their domain, and they are being taken to court because one way or the other their emergence has been influenced against what should actually be. Their emergence has been influenced. They are not ordinarily ought to be kings, but because they are in the good books of those who control the apparatus of the state, those who control the state at that moment, they now emerge as as kings, or as maybe as Oba if it's Yoruba land, or elsewhere maybe in northern region of the country as emir, when kingmakers actually have put in place the process. The process has been bastardized by those who hold public office as a result of the fact that they want somebody who will be pliable to them, you understand, in occupying traditional institutions. So it has affected Yoruba in many ways, because those who emerge will be distracted by needless court cases. They'll be taken to courts, and it will not promote progress, it will not promote peace, prosperity in that domain, because there will be distractions, and it can even lead to violence sometimes. You have seen cases going up to even Supreme Courts, because those who are disputant to the throne or to that traditional stool will continue to engage in needless court cases, from the lower court up to the Supreme Court. You understand? These court cases are ordinarily needless if the process has been followed and the process has been transparent to all those who are candidates at the point of selection, and whoever emerge through that due process or through that transparent process, will be supported by all others. But in a situation whereby somebody who ought not to be in the first place was imposed, you can expect that there will be court cases, and this will not actually promote peace, prosperity, or progress, in that particular domain.
Okay, talking about this political rage, whereby some political leaders they install whoever they want, just to be on their side. Do you think this is what caused the rage between ALAAFIN and OONI? Because these issues are now. I mean, it is not something that we are meant to even see or hear outside that, oh, OONI said this and ALAAFIN saying no. I give you 48 hours to revoke whatever chieftaincy you give to this person. Do you think this thing has anything to do about political issue?
I don't think so. In my own view, I just think that it's just the over-seriousness of the media aid to ALAAFIN, and not knowing even the right words to use when you are even using a press release or a memo or whatever you want to understand, because it's uncalled for. And that also was being circulated on social media. So thank God that ALAAFIN recently has distanced himself from any form of rifts between him and OONI, and I said that he has a cordial relationship with OONI. So I think this should not have been. So this should be prevented, going forward. This should not be allowed. What we need now is collaboration among our traditional rulers, cooperation, so that they can, this can help to, promote peace and prosperity, generally in Yoruba land and in their respective domain.
Okay, so talking about the peace and prosperity, what do you think, in your suggestion, what do you think should be done so that we don't, get to hear any of the scripts or anything going on among, our traditional leaders? What do you think should be done? What advice would you put out there, just to, calm all this rage and all? And even for the chief or the media aid, not for it to come outside and put out whatever the king doesn't approve.
Well, first, I would say the media aid should be sanctioned. The media aid to ALAAFIN should be sanctioned, so that others will learn from this. We cannot say whether he was actually asked to issue that press release, and whether the information contained in that press release
because what I think actually is that for the media aid to put out something like that, I mean, like you're my boss now, do you think I would do anything
without
you knowing?
Without his knowledge. That's what I'm about to say, that we cannot say clearly here now, authoritatively now, that he was not given instruction to do that, or even the content, whether the content was not shown to ALAAFIN before it was released. We need to also look at that too. But if it was as a result of his over seriousness, like I said,
Yes.
it should be sanctioned. But if the mistake was not completely his own alone, if it had been the content has been shown to ALAAFIN and eventually it was released to the public, then it means that they have to also guide the way they release, look at the way they release any information to the public, so that this will not cause unnecessary rift between prominent tradition or among between two prominent traditional rulers or among the traditional rulers that we have in Yoruba land. So what I think, like coming back to your question the other time, you asked that what do I think that how do we prevent this? Like I said, to prevent this is we just need to have a situation whereby the process leading to emergence of traditional rulers, that process is usually very transparent. Politicians, there is less of meddling in the process, and politicians don't just cause unnecessary rift between them by placing one traditional ruler above the other, especially in cases where that traditional institution or that traditional stool was not above the other traditional particular traditional stool before now. Because we have seen cases where one traditional stool will be elevated above another against historical facts. I hope you understand that. So politicians should stop their meddling. I think politicians played most of these play major role in most of these conflicts, most of these rifts. So if our traditional rulers are giving their due recognition, they are supported, and they are also allowed to have certain constitutional rules are assigned to them to play, I don't think there will be any issue whatsoever.
All right. And that's where we draw the curtain on today's episode of Political Fact. And special thanks to my guest, Mr. Awolere. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having me.
All right. So today, we thank our audience, for watching and being part of this conversation. Until next time, I'm Ololade Bolarawa. Keep watching Zero TV. Stay informed. Thank you.